Tonight, Education Minister finally concedes comprehensive sexuality education is a major but yet to be explored theme in Ghana's curriculum framework mentioned in guidelines for teachers, as it emerges that the comprehensive sexuality education even had a place in a 2019 budget. Now, the Peace Council is also tonight wading into the controversy, applauding the public reaction, but also calling for sleeping dogs to lie. And Topstory is brought to you by Bond Savings and Loans. Your success, our passion, also brought to you by Gasem Cement, the nation builder. Vodafone, the future is exciting. Ready. Details after this short break.
Protective of our guardian brand. 10 years of success, 10 years of loyalty. Your success, our passion. Oh yeah, your success, our passion.
Your success, our passion.
Ma, please give me your phone. Let me make a quick call.
So you're still on that network that gives you fair data and talk time, where Vodafone has double the Red 1, Red 2, and Red 5 offers. For 5 CDs, Chikra. You get 250 minutes to call all networks, 250 megabytes data, and more.
I'm moving to Vodafone today.
Switch to Vodafone to enjoy double Intuswar on red bundles of 1, 2, and 5 CDs. Enjoy double talk minutes to call all networks and double data to browse. Vodafone always gives you more. Dial *200# to subscribe now. Terms and conditions apply.
The future is exciting. Ready?
Thank you, folks. On my A list today, show some love for contractor EB. So, contractor, what do you think about the country's changing skyline?
Oh, send them down there, Yuma. Across skyline, they change you, papa.
Wow. Contractor, don't you get worried when you hear of buildings collapsing?
I'm out for an one on Tassam. It is the likability of using low quality product.
Please explain why.
Yeah, cement is no quality on your gasem. Village of Fefe. It was built with gasem. Says the gasem construction. See what pumping. N1, can you tell market? But to Kumasi Airport, Cape Coast Stadium, a trouble gas project in Gasebo. Messi, what the quality? No what is quality?
Gasem, 3 cement grades, greater value. Gasem, the nation builder.
Well, tonight, the Education Minister, Matthew Opoku-Prempeh, has finally conceded the controversial comprehensive sexuality education is indeed a major part of Ghana's curriculum framework. Just yesterday at a news conference, the minister was this categorical that the controversial CSE was never part of the curriculum framework.
The ministry states categorically that 1, the curriculum framework from KG to P6, that was approved by Cabinet from the National Council for Curriculum and Assessment for use in the development of school curriculum and published on NACA website, does not include anything on comprehensive sexuality education. The curriculum that has been developed out of the framework for use by Ghana Education Service in all public schools and approved by Cabinet and as published does not include comprehensive sexuality education. As this morning, National Council for Curriculum and Assessment, NACA, has not approved any material on comprehensive sexuality education, as it is not included as we speak on the published curriculum and curriculum framework. 152,000 teachers have been trained for the new curriculum that started this September. And no teacher was trained on comprehensive sexuality education. Teacher resource packs have been printed and distributed to all teachers trained on how to engage the students or the pupils on the new curricula.
Well, as we indicated last night, the facts did not support the minister's claims because comprehensive sexuality education was indeed captured in the teacher resource parks as a major theme in the curriculum framework. Well, today, speaking on Peace FM's Krokro Morning Show, Matthew Pokupempe finally admitted his claims just yesterday were not entirely accurate.
Curriculum framework now. Teams are to energy efficiency, climate change, sanitation, civic education, comprehensive sexual education. Large fields are obiabe the back curriculum. Now, after the back curriculum, this is developing content, now developing age specific material for that specific age. Now, make her approve it. So, in line with what we accept in this country. And so that government approve, we have the other. Even when you look at the teacher resource park, no teacher was trained on CS. No teacher was trained on sanitation. No teacher was trained on energy efficiency. No teacher has been trained on road safety. Even though there are general teams, even in the teacher resource park, that have been mentioned. That is the first thing. The video that banner make us and
So just let me translate that for you. He says, if you open the curriculum framework, you will see some major thematic areas like energy efficiency, climate change, sanitation, civic education, and comprehensive sexuality education. They are major themes many people want in the curriculum. But before it is approved, you will have to develop content and develop age-specific material for that specific need. NACA, that's a curriculum body, will then approve and ensure it is in line with what we accept in this country before approval by government. If you look at the teacher resource park, no teacher was trained on the comprehensive sexuality education, no teacher was trained on sanitation, no teacher was trained on energy efficiency, no teacher has been trained on road safety, although they are general themes in the teacher resource park that have been mentioned. And so he was then asked, now he concedes is in fact a theme in the resource parks and in the curriculum framework. He was then asked, so does government intend in the long term to develop those frameworks, including the sexuality education, into material that can be taught in schools as part of the curriculum? His answer was essentially that, yeah, eventually Ghana will get to the point where this will be done, but it will be done in accordance with our values and will be culturally sensitive.
So Ghana will be part of the CSSC, the culture, look at Director General Liner, or say culturally sensitive. I will say here, the values of the thing, we'll do it. But once we are not there, we can't do it. So, baby, let's use the we have used the right. They were America. I don't just say the world association. Let's make up use the it's in that also country you have to see the values and then the culturally sensitive material. No inculcating what the curriculum will move. And we haven't gotten there as a country. So even though we would get there, we haven't gotten there.
Even though we'll get there, we haven't gotten there yet. And the direct translation of what he says, if you look at the Director General's note, he says, it has to be culturally sensitive. It has to agree with our values. Once we are not there, we cannot do it. So if you go elsewhere and you see a child has been abused in the U.S., it does not mean same will happen here. That is why every country has to choose the values and other sensitive aspects of their culture they want in the curriculum. And we are not there yet as a country. Even though we will get there, we are not there yet, he repeats. Now, today, it is also emerging that not only is it part of the teacher resource parks and mentioned as one of the broad themes in the curriculum framework, it also had a mention in the 2019 budget read in Parliament by the Finance Minister. If you look at page 86, and I want to quote directly from the budget, it says, Mr. Speaker, the National Population Council, in collaboration with other stakeholders, developed guidelines on comprehensive sexual education for incorporation into the national education curriculum. And I want to repeat that, and this is in the budget. Mr. Speaker, the National Population Council, in collaboration with other stakeholders, developed guidelines on comprehensive sexual education, into brackets CSE, for incorporation into the national education curriculum. The council reviewed policies that impose structural barriers to condom use in Ghana as part of efforts to effectively implement the National Condom Strategy 2016 to 2020 in line with SDGs 3.7. That is what the finance minister read in Parliament, when it has this has to do with the CSE and its the guidelines. Remember yesterday also, the education minister denied that the guideline is something that it had been developed and was a plan to integrate. Although in February he had said categorically that the plan that it will be incorporated into the curriculum this September. But here is another evidence that in fact this was part of the plan all along and had been mentioned in the budget. Spokesperson for the Education Ministry is Vincent Asafwa, joins us on the telephone line right now. Mr. Asafwa, thank you for your time here on Top Story.
Thank you very much, Evans. How are you?
I'm doing great. Also joining us is a man who first raised, is a member of Parliament, and he first raised the query on the budget line that dealt with the controversial subject of the CSC. He is a member of Parliament for the Ningo Pram, Sam George. Mr. George, thank you for your time. Hello, Sam George.
Yeah, hello.
Thank you for your time. Quickly, you raised this as an issue. You're a member of Parliament. You approved the budget. Your point, you say this was part of what you approved.
Well, let me say a very good evening to your listeners. This debate has been raging for a number of days, and hearing the spirited defense of the ministry and the minister saying that CSE had not been an official position. I mean, we took the pain to start going through all the official documentation. And let me say that we are not done with this. I'm still reviewing a number of documents that have come to Parliament. In reviewing the budget this morning, I came across CSE as one of the acronyms in the acronym section of the budget, and then followed up and saw it in paragraph 389 or so. And that immediately stood out to me that clearly this is further evidence. We've seen the previous evidence where in June, as early as June of 2017, the Ministry of Education, through the Deputy Minister, Madam Barbara Asha AEC, was present at a Planned Parenthood program. You realize that the ministry has tried to disassociate itself from the Planned Parenthood program, which shows reproductive organs and suggests that children should have a right to determine their sexuality and all. But that again is not true, because in June 2017, the Deputy Minister for Education, Madam Barbara Asha AEC, was present at the launch of that book. That book is called Know It, Own It, and Live It. She launched it on behalf of the Minister of Education, June 2017. And so it cannot be that the ministry is unaware of that book that has the rainbow colors on its cover and that talks about sexual preferences that are alien to our customs. Again, in February, on the 1st of February 2019, the minister himself launched the O3 program, which again was a manual, a guide prepared by the UNFPA towards sexuality education in Ghana. So the whole talk, and when you look at the budget, which was presented in November 2018, you realize that this is something that has approval from cabinet, because clearly you cannot be having something appear in the budget if you did not have cabinet approval. Approval from cabinet for the introduction of comprehensive sexuality education in our curriculum in September this year. If you listen to some of the speeches and the reports that have been made, sometime in August of this year, the ministry indicated that they will not be able to roll out CSE fully this academic year, but they will do it at the start of next academic year. And they develop the manual. If they say that they have not developed the manual or the guidelines for it, that again is not true. Because when you take the guidelines as with a forward by the Director General of the GES, he speaks explicitly about the need for comprehensive sexuality education. And yesterday on another platform, I tried to do the distinction between sex education and sexuality education. Sex education at the right age, there's nothing wrong with it. Sex education at the right age is needed. It will help fight teenage pregnancy. But sexuality education, which is what Planned Parenthood is pushing, which is what the UNFPA is pushing, which is being funded by the Swedish government, which our government has signed up to and received $22 million for.
And you have evidence to back that we have received $22 million for this?
You have the PR of the ministry. If it's up to him to come back and deny this one too, like the minister denied yesterday, they will come back and admit that yes, it has happened. Look, I can read to you a document which spells out the countries, the recipient countries of the funding from the Swedish government.
Which document is this?
Oh, like I said to you, there are several documents in our possession. Which one of?
I mean, this document you say has a list of countries that receive the funding from the Swedish government to implement the CSE. Which document is this? Which document is that?
This is a UNFPA document. Because
okay.
It's a document that spells out the push through the UN to get comprehensive sexuality education into countries in Ghana, including Malawi, countries in Africa, including Malawi, Ghana, Eswatini. I mean, they have spelled out the countries. There are about 10 recipient countries. And so this is not something that the ministry can say they don't know. And when you even look at the document that has the by the Director General of the GES, the heading with the coat of arms of our republic is Guidelines for Comprehensive Sexuality Education in Ghana.
Yes, I mean, Mr. George, very finally, from what you say, the minority, and I know that even your spokesperson on education has said that there's an intention to meet and look at this more. What is the intention of all the work that the minority intends to do on this? The ministry says they have no intention of doing this now. It is something that they'll do way down the line, but it will be something that they will do in conformity with our norms and cultural values.
Elvis, let me just read something for you from a UNFPA document, 2018 country document for Ghana, where they speak about what they have done so far. 6 points that they've achieved so far. 1, currently the National Population Council has led a process to develop a national guideline for the delivery of CSE in Ghana. 2, the national guideline clearly defines age-appropriate content that should be delivered at the various stages of education and is based on the UNFPA, UNESCO, and IPPF standard, IPPF being International Planned Parenthood Foundation. 3, civil society, young people, and academia have been strongly involved and engaged in all processes leading to the guideline development. That we know is not true. 4, a civil society-led and developed content, Know It, Own It, Leave It CSE manual has been adopted. Now that Know It, Leave It, and Own It manual is a PPAG document that shows sexualization and talks about people accepting and being open to other forms of sexuality than we know it. It says it has been adopted together with a GES source book for teachers on CSE as the content guides to drive the implementation of CSE. 5, the guideline and the manuals have been submitted to the Minister of Education and the Ghana Education Service for verification and adoption. 6, the guideline, CSE manual, and the source book have been submitted to NACA to use as the reference material for the review and integration. So when they tell you that they do not know what it is about, they are being untruthful to us.
I'm grateful, Sam George, for joining me on that. I want to quickly bring in the spokesperson for the Education Ministry. Quickly, Mr. Safwa, has the ministry received 22 million from the Swedish government to push this through the curriculum?
Let me say a very good evening to your cherished listeners. Ivan, first and foremost, let me indicate, maybe first on your platform, and I have tried another platform to point out that the Ministry of Education has not received any amount of money, supposedly 22 million Ghana cedis, that is supposed to be used for the said allegations.
And this is something that we'll be verifying. So you're categorical.
But I'm also telling
you're categorical that the government of Ghana, and I'm the ministry, the government of Ghana hasn't received funding already for this particular purpose.
We have not received any amount of money for this purpose.
Okay, so I want to just for clarity, because we're going to be verifying. So I want to be sure what you're saying is what it is. There is a Ministry of Education. And there's government. You're speaking for the education ministry. You're saying
I'm surprised you're asking this. For
it's important. It's important.
I've already indicated to you that we have not received a PESWA from anywhere. And if some judge is also alleging that we have received 22 million Ghana cedis, the onus lies on him for him to give evidence to that claim.
We'll verify that. So yes, your second point was
number two. There has not been any cabinet approval for comprehensive sexuality education, which is supposed to include LGBT. That point should be noted. Number three, the Director General of the Ghana Education Service has denied signing any document that is supposedly supposed to be a guideline that is bringing about comprehensive sexuality education. I don't know how many times we should make this point, that you are forcing it under the threat of the Ghana Education Service Director, that you have signed a document that is supposed to be the guidelines for the implementation of the comprehensive sexuality education.
Okay.
I want to expose the hypocrisy. Hold on. I want to bring out the hypocrisy of some judge and other colleagues who are making the point that the comprehensive sexuality education that they are making so much noise about, as if it is so wrong, they have to know that this is something that in 2015 they themselves introduced. I have a document in my hand, and that document is a source book for teachers. It was signed by the Director General of Ghana Education Service in 2015, a man called Jacob A. Cole, who signed that source book, that teachers are supposed to be using that source book, or if you like, resource pack, to be able to teach first cycle institutions in this country.
And this was on comprehensive sexuality education?
Absolutely, and if I read the preface, the first line, like millions of young people around the world, Ghana's adolescents and young people need accurate and comprehensive education about sexuality. This is a document that I have in my hand.
Now, two quick points. You fixed up. You make that point. 2 quick points on the guideline. I just read to you earlier what the 2019 budget said about the work that had been done already by state institutions like the Population Council on comprehensive sexuality education. And I want to quickly repeat that because of this reference to the guideline that you talked of. The finance minister told Parliament, quote, the National Population Council, in collaboration with other stakeholders, developed guidelines on comprehensive sexual education for incorporation into the national education curriculum.
And let's define the stakeholders here.
Yes, the stakeholders definitely will include the GES. Definitely will include the education.
How will you say definitely?
With other, you're saying
include the GES.
You're saying that the stakeholders did not
include GES. Then I won't take that point.
Hold on, Mr. Safwa. You're saying that the finance minister goes to Parliament to present a document approved by cabinet, and a budget will always be approved by cabinet. Says that the National Population Council, in collaboration with other stakeholders, have developed CSC for incorporation into the national education curriculum, and you say that education GS had nothing to do with the stakeholder consultations on this.
Evans, the bottom line is the curriculum framework that was developed to be used as the curriculum itself. There was nowhere that we mentioned comprehensive sexuality education.
Yeah, but I'm just reading to you what the government budget said.
Hold on, because unless of course you can quote in the curriculum framework that we have mentioned anything like
let's go there, Mr. Safar, just a second, because we need to break this down systematically. Let's go to where you said we should go. Yesterday, the education minister was emphatic and categorical that nowhere in the curriculum framework has the term comprehensive sexuality education been mentioned, including not in the teacher resource parks. Page 11. And today he concedes that on Peace FM. In fact, mentions that He himself says, in fact, it is a major theme. And I quote him that people want in the curriculum that will be developed sometime down the line, but will be done in accordance with the values. When he was saying categorically yesterday that it wasn't in the teacher resource pack, it wasn't part of the framework, didn't he know? Hasn't he read?
Evans, what is the definition of this so-called comprehensive sexuality education? What's the definition?
What are you answering my question? Is that question an answer to my question?
No, but I'm also trying to tell you that improvement in HIV infections, improvement in child marriage, improvement in teenage pregnancy is something that the minister was just talking about. If the minister make this point and allude to the point that there's going to be comprehensive sexuality education, what's the hullabaloo about this?
I'm sorry, you're not answering my question. I want to repeat the question. Maybe you didn't hear me. I'm saying yesterday the minister was categorical that comprehensive sexuality education was not in the teacher resource pack, wasn't part of the framework. Today, and we pointed out that that's not accurate. Today, he concedes that in fact it is in there, page 11, as part of the broad frameworks. I'm saying to you, when he was saying this yesterday categorically, hasn't he read it as education minister? Didn't you know that it was there?
The point is that these things are not going to be taught in our various classrooms.
Okay, so you say it is there, but you won't teach it.
Listen, it's a commitment that we have made to the people of Ghana that as far as this government or this ministry is concerned, these things are not going to be taught in our classrooms. Simple as that.
So why is it there then? Why is it part of your curriculum framework if you don't intend to teach it in the classroom?
What you read is not the curriculum framework.
I'm sorry. If you want me to read it again, I'm going to go back to page 11 of the teacher resource pack. It lists major themes that forms part of the framework.
Is the curriculum framework?
Hold on. If I finish, I'm sure you appreciate where I'm going with this. The resource pack mentions what the curriculum framework is and the themes. The minister himself concedes today that comprehensive sexuality education is one of the major themes in the framework. Do you know this yourself?
Evans, I've already told you, and my answer is very simple to your question. It's a commitment on the part of this government and the Ministry of Education that the so-called definition that you are giving there are not going to be taught in our classrooms. Simple as that.
Mr. Safo, I'm grateful that you joined us with your thoughts. That is a spokesperson for the Education Ministry, Vincent Asafo, and we know that there's a press conference that the Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council and the General Superintendent of the Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council and also the General Superintendent of the Assemblies of God churches in Ghana will tomorrow be holding a joint press conference on this very matter. We'll be speaking. Let's quickly do that. Let's speak to Reverend Professor Paul Manso. He's the president of the Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council and the General Superintendent of the Assemblies of God churches in Ghana, and they are planning a press conference tomorrow. Prof, thank you for time here on Topstory.
Thank you, Evans. It's a long time. I hope you're doing well.
I'm doing fantastic. So what's the purpose of tomorrow's press conference?
Thank you very much. Communication is a process, not an event. We started an argument about the CSE, and we believe that we are not ready for it. It brought a lot of concern, and then the minister responded and gave us the side of the story, telling us that it is not going to happen. So one communication has ended, but it triggers another. So we feel that we should call ourselves. This has happened because from Monday to today, the number of media houses that have called me across the country is uncountable, innumerable. And we feel it's a responsibility to have some critical look about what he said, analyze it, and come back to the people who we are representing, so that together with the press, we can also give a good feedback to the hearers. I just heard you talking with the minister, some PR from the ministry. Many people are giving different interpretations and what have you on this. And since we began the conversation, or we started with one, we started it last Sunday night. It's fair that we also come back to respond to the minister and to tell Ghanaians our feelings and our reactions about whatever that came out.
Very briefly, the minister says categorically that it's not something they intend to do now. On Peace FM today, he says, when he was asked, so will you do it later? He says, well, we will get there, but when we do, it will be in accordance with our values and cultural, it will be culturally sensitive. Does that satisfy you?
No, at all. We are saying no today, tomorrow, and forever. It is not Ghanaians want to have. See how it is being rejected in Europe, even in Canada, in Britain, and others are following suit. I know that even in America, some schools, the parents have to sign a consent form before their children are taught. But for Ghana, our position is firm, unchangeable. We are prepared to fight for the next generation. We are prepared even to give our blood. In the Bible, Elijah confronted Ahab. John the Baptist confronted Herod, sealed it with his blood. We have a challenge in Ghana. Corruption has destroyed our land a lot. I have also said that corruption has destroyed our adults. Many people are corrupt and they are suffering. Galamsey environment is also destroyed. What is left with the children, the people, they are our future. We cannot wait for any organization, anybody to come and destroy us. Ghana first. I have repeated this on several media. Trump said America first. He was a member of the Paris Club. When they were talking about environmental issues, he came out. In our national anthem, we say we should resist oppressors' rule. Dr. Efremamu has said the truth. This is our land. We have to protect it. And if it comes in any shape or form to destroy and break the moral fiber of society, we will resist it. Thank God the minister has said it is not happening. So that is what we are accepting.
I'm grateful. That's Reverend Professor Paul Frimpong Manso, is the president of the Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council and the general superintendent of the Assemblies of God churches in Ghana. Newsnight starts right now.